Hey y'all, I just wanted to go over some things about your accountability groups before we get started tomorrow night. I would really love to meet with you all about 6 o'clock and pray just for your groups and also for you individually as you lead these groups. But I uploaded a paper that hopefully you will have as you're watching this video. But it's just going to go over what I'm going to talk about here on the video, but I want you to understand exactly kind of where I want things to go tomorrow night. The first thing, whenever you get into your accountability groups, or we're not calling them accountability groups, we're calling them family groups, um, I want you to establish what the purpose is. Everybody there needs to understand what this is all about. I mean, I talked a few weeks ago about engaging, and we need to be able to engage one another and just kind of be able to live life together. And you're really going to be the shepherd of this group and making sure you're looking out for other people as they walk in. In fact, tomorrow night, whenever you get here, I would love for you to get here a little early and be the one that's looking out for the other people in your group, making sure that they're not off by themselves, or making sure that they have somebody to eat with and stuff like that, so that they don't walk in the room and feel like I'm all alone here. There might be 80 people in a room or 100 people in a room, but you can walk in it and feel like you're all by yourself because you don't know anybody and you don't see anybody that you're familiar with. So look at the people that are in your group tonight. I'll try to upload one of those as well. But look at those people on that list and make sure you're looking out for them whenever they come in. So I want you to explain to them that the purpose of the group is to be open and honest with one another, and that you're going to make it feel like a family. I want you to make sure that they understand, as you all are sharing things in there, that they are not going to be at risk of sharing something and then and then that information getting out to other people. You're not going to tell anybody, and you need to make sure that other people in the group understand that like this is not the gossip session. Like, we don't want to take information that's shared here and go and tell other people, because we want it to be a place that builds trust with one another, to just make it a safe place. Now, that being said, probably they need to understand that if it's really, really something serious, they may want to tell you privately rather than sharing it with a big group, especially before you're just getting started or as you're getting started, because there's not going to be a whole lot of trust built there. But some people don't have a filter, and so they might just be able to walk into a group and spill their guts. And if they do, there is going to be a risk of that information going somewhere else because everybody hasn't built trust in the group yet. So, just saying all that just to say, make sure they understand that the goal is to work towards making it a safe place where they can come and share things without the risk of being embarrassed later by other people knowing the information. Also, make sure that they understand that the exception to that rule is if the information that they share is going to be harmful to themselves or harmful to another person. I'm going to give you two extreme examples. One example is maybe somebody comes to your group that night and tells you that they have been planning to commit suicide. That, in no uncertain circumstances, has to be communicated to me or one of the other adults in the room so that we can get them some help. Like, you can't be the one to make the judgment on whether they would really do that or not. Like, me personally, I'm not even allowed to make that judgment. That's one thing I'm mandated to report, and it's against the law for me not to report. And so we need to make sure that we get people help if they're in serious trouble. Also, if somebody walks into your group one night and says, I'm planning on hurting somebody else. So basically, the rule of thumb is if it's anything that's going to be detrimental or harmful to the individual or to other people, that's one thing you can't keep confidential. You're going to have to share with somebody. So also, you want them to know that this group, this family group, is going to be something that you want to help them in their walk with Christ. realizing whenever you say that, you've probably got people sitting in your family group that are not saved. And so whenever you say that, it's going to communicate different things to different people in your group. One thing is that to those people that are saved, it's going to communicate, you're going to help me understand how to have a better relationship with God. To a person that's not saved, they're just thinking they're going to teach me some Bible. So you're communicating different things, but the fact is you want to be able to share Christ with those individuals in your group that are not saved and make sure that they understand the gospel and who Jesus is and all that stuff. You also want it to be a place where it's okay to ask questions. It's an okay place to have doubts. Sometimes church is a scary place to express doubts about your faith. But we want people to be open and honest, and if they have questions about their faith, feel like they can ask them here and get answers to those questions rather than being looked down upon or looked at like they're dumb or whatever. Like, that's the way people feel. If I have questions about my faith, people are going to think I'm an idiot or they're going to think I'm rebellious. And so we don't want that to be the case. We want them to be comfortable in asking those questions. And then lastly, on those bullet points there, we want this to be a group that kind of shares life together, that communicates outside of Wednesday nights. You know, you as the group leader, I really would love for you to keep in contact with the people in your group and make it a family. And so, I want you to be a person that really cares about the people in your group, and I want them to know it, not just on Wednesday nights whenever you meet in a family group. So that's just number one. Number two, after you do all that and communicate all that, I would love for you to share your testimony, how you came to faith in Christ, and not only that, but like how you've progressed since then, and like what life is like for you now as a believer, where you're at in your walk with God, letting them know that you haven't reached perfection or you still got a long way to go as well. But just share your heart with them. Girls groups is probably going to be a little easier to happen than the guys groups, but that's the way it is. Girls just talk a little bit better, a little easier about this kind of thing. So guys, do the best you can. Number three, ask if anyone in the group wants to share their testimony. And you know, that could be anything from really, I got saved whenever I was 6, come to Sunday school and church all the time, or it could be I've been on drugs for the last 2 or 3 years. I'm still struggling, but God saved me, and I'm still dealing with this. Okay. No matter what their testimony is, if they have a testimony, this is going to allow you to know where they're at in their spiritual walk, if they're going to share, if they'll share it. Do not force anybody to share a testimony because maybe they don't have one. And you don't want to force them to say that they're saved whenever they're not. But if somebody does share their testimony, make sure you always validate what Christ has done in their heart rather than the sin that was committed before. Because sometimes people have a tendency to go on and on and on about the way they lived before Jesus, and then they get up to it and they were like, and Jesus saved me, and that's it. And like what they end up doing is glorifying the sin more than they do glorifying Christ for what He had done for them. And so, even if that's what they do, if they share their testimony, make sure you go back and say, "Oh my goodness, look at what God has done for you. He's redeemed you." Or you're not going to say it that way because that sounds pretty churchy. But anyway, like, just make much of the fact that God has saved them and has great things for their life ahead, and wants the best for them rather than emphasizing what's happened in the past. Number 4, ask if they have any questions about God or their faith. Like, just open it up and just say, is there anything you are curious about? Like maybe they actually have questions about, is the Bible believable? Is it real? Did Jesus really walk on water? How do you trust in somebody you don't see? Like all of those could be questions that people have, and we want this to be a place where they can ask those. If you don't know the answer to their questions, that's okay. Say that's a great question, write it down. Or maybe if they're not comfortable asking you those questions, have them write down the questions and turn them in. You can give them to me, or you can research them yourself, and we can begin to address some of those questions for them. Um, Number 5, is there anything that you're struggling with? I mean, it could be anything. I'm having trouble in algebra. I've got a drug problem. Can't quit having sex with my boyfriend or girlfriend. Like all of those things might be an issue for different people in your group. Um, Maybe it's I can't get along with my parents. Who knows what's going to be going on with the people in your group? It could be varied, but the thing is, we want to be able to be there for them in this and be able to give some biblical help for the situation that they're in. They're going to be adults around the room, and please understand, you don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to do everything on your own. We're there to help you. And so if you've got an issue, just kind of raise your hand or motion to one of us adults that can help you with that kind of thing. Number 6, ask general questions about each participant's walk with God. Obviously that's assuming that they do have one. If they don't, it's probably going to be kind of evident in the response they give you. Do you have it? And you can go ahead and ask this question. Do you have a time where you read the Bible and pray? I'm asking it that way because if you ask the people if you have a quiet time, some students who don't have a church background are just going to look at you and think you're talking about, do you sit in a corner and not speak? And so ask if they read the Bible and pray. If they say yes, ask them what that's like. Does God talk to them through the scriptures? What is it like whenever they pray? Does it feel like they're having a conversation? Does it feel like they're just kind of talking to the air, or God's really there with them? Find out what it's like for them. Is it dynamic or is it stagnant and boring? If they do not, ask them, do you know how to spend time with God each day? Hold that thought. Okay, I think I was talking about if they say no on number 6. If they say no, ask them, do they know how to spend time with God each day? I always instruct people whenever they're first starting out to start in the book of John, which is what I'm preaching over on Wednesday night. So that would be a really good place for them to start anyway. But I always say go through John, help you know who Jesus is, and then go to James, because that's all about practicality and how to understand how to live out your Christian faith. So those are some things that you can do. And then just kind of give them a basic outline of how you structure your time with God. That's number 7 there. And so that is just a real quick synopsis of kind of what I want you to do tomorrow night. That is a lot of stuff to do in the first time you meet with your small group. And so I would suggest that you just work through it as you can, and then the next time you come back, we'll maybe go through. We'll after this is over, we'll kind of look and see how many of you all got to what point in this, and then we can restructure for next time. But that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of where I want you to go. And I would suggest that you give me a call if you have any questions. I'm sure all of y'all have my cell phone number. You can shoot me a message on Facebook or whatever. But if you got any questions over it, give me a holler. But that's the basic outline. But again, I want to get together with y'all at 6 o'clock on Wednesday, and then we can just spend 5 minutes in prayer together over y'all and for the groups that night. And we're just praying God does great things through it. Thanks. Bye.